The clip you're about to watch captures a homeowner's descent into a living nightmare. What began as a peaceful evening at home quickly dissolved as he realized he wasn't nearly as alone as he thought. You can feel the tension the moment the video starts. He's standing in his living room, recording, because he started hearing these heavy, deliberate knocks echoing from his front door. Hoping it was just a late delivery or a confused neighbor, he grabs his camera and approaches the entryway to investigate. As he gets closer, the knocking actually gets faster and more insistent, almost as if whatever is out there knows he's approaching. He finally pulls the door open, fully expecting to confront someone on his porch, but he's met with absolutely nothing but the dead silence of the night. There is no one there, and nowhere for a prankster to hide that quickly.
So I thought Fawn and David were back. I just got out of the shower and I heard, well, it sounded like the door opening and closing, but oh my god, nobody's fucking here. And my cat is just staring at the fucking door. I know, messy room, I know. It's my sister's room. Which creeps me out for some reason. Stared over there at the fucking door. Fuck. Jinxies. You're my witness. You heard whatever's at the door, right? God, if cats could fucking talk. That thing too. Why are these fucking open? Ooh. I got the fucking chills again, dude. I gotta get dressed. I'm out of here, dude. Fuck that. I don't like Fawn's closet. It creeps me out. Fuck it out of here.
In his caption for this video, the homeowner points out a detail that he didn't even notice until he watched the footage back. Pay close attention to the blinds on the window next to the door. As he walks up to the door, the blinds are clearly pulled shut. But seconds later, when he turns back around after finding the empty porch, the blinds are wide open and he closes them again, completely unaware that they had been closed just moments prior. In paranormal theory, this combination of events is highly indicative of an intelligent haunting. The rapid knocking is often seen as threshold testing, an entity trying to goad the homeowner into opening the door and essentially inviting them in. But the physical manipulation of the blinds is the real red flag here. It shows that the entity isn't just outside trying to get in, it's already inside the house, capable of physical manipulation and actively trying to disorient him. He thought he was looking for a prowler on the porch, but the real threat was standing right behind him. That chilling realization is likely what pushed him to start documenting every inch of his property. Seeking a bit of normalcy, or perhaps just trying to escape the heavy atmosphere of the living room, he retreats to the garage. He set up another camera to keep a watchful eye, but as he sits in a chair with his back to the closed garage door, scrolling on his phone, he is completely unaware of the physical activity starting to unfold directly behind him.
this? Moving shit? I fucking got that. Still fucking moving. Oh, there ain't no wind. Like this.
In paranormal investigations, a garage is often considered a liminal space, a threshold between the chaotic outside world and the safety of the home. When an entity begins to manipulate heavy objects in a liminal space, it's often a sign that it is gaining strength and attempting to establish dominance over the entire property. The fact that the entity is comfortable moving these items while he is actively sitting in the room suggests that it's no longer just trying to disorient him, it's trying to assert control. He might have thought he was just dealing with a few drafty rooms, but the activity in the garage proves the entity is making itself right at home, and that newly claimed territory quickly begins to expand, shrinking his remaining safe spaces. Later that night, the homeowner is barricaded in his bedroom, but the entity is no longer content with just moving boxes in the distance. He starts filming his closed bedroom door because there is a distinct rhythmic scratching and thumping coming from the hallway right outside. It sounds deliberate, almost like something is pacing and testing the barrier between them. He finally works up the nerve to open it, bracing himself to find an intruder, or maybe hoping to just find one of his pets, but the hallway is completely dead.
Dude. Don't fucking scare me, dog. Fuck. What the fuck, man? Fuck off, dog. Did you fucking see that, dude? Why every time I'm fucking alone, dude? Fuck.
He sweeps the entire house, clearing the bathroom, navigating the living room, and stepping into the other rooms, but he finds absolutely nothing. His cat is completely unbothered on the bed, and his dog is just chilling in the living room, proving this wasn't an animal making that noise. In paranormal research, the bedroom is considered the ultimate sanctuary. When a haunting moves from the periphery to actively scratching at the bedroom door, it's a tactic called predatory isolation. The entity is trying to make him feel unsafe in the one place he needs to rest, feeding off the exhaustion and paranoia that comes from realizing a locked door won't stop the intrusion. He's essentially trapped in a psychological siege, and whatever is in that house wants him to know there is nowhere left to hide. The situation reaches a breaking point in the final piece of footage. The homeowner is fully on edge, exhausted, and desperately trying to pinpoint the source of the escalating activity. He hears a disturbance and steps outside into the darkness of his front driveway to investigate. After finding nothing, he quickly retreats back inside, visibly terrified, only to realize the entity used that as a distraction. The camera pans across his bedroom to a full-length mirror hanging on his door, and across the entire width of the glass is a massive, jagged crack. He points his camera at the damage and explicitly states, "It was not like that, dude." Some noise coming from in there.
Oh, hell fucking no. What the fuck? Dude. I don't know what the fuck that was. What was that noise? Oh, I'm blind. Ah, crap. Fucking garage door's locked. I don't want to go in there. Shit. Look at my fucking mirror. It was not fucking like that, dude.
Now, here's where we have to ask the big question. What exactly is this entity? In paranormal theory, when a haunting involves both intense physical manifestation, like moving heavy boxes and breaking mirrors, and psychological manipulation, like knocking and opening blinds, we are likely looking at a poltergeist or a highly volatile elemental entity. Unlike traditional human spirits, which are often residual and passive, poltergeists are fueled by raw, chaotic energy. They don't just haunt a space. They feed off the fear and anxiety of the people living there, escalating their physical attacks to generate even more of the terrified energy they need to manifest. But if you thought the broken mirror was the climax of this haunting, the final piece of footage proves the entity is no longer restricted to the shadows or the dead of night. The homeowner has set up a static camera in his well-lit dining room. He's just going about his day, doing the dishes in the kitchen while music plays in the background. But as he steps out of the frame, for just a moment, a heavy wooden chair at the dining table suddenly slides backward across the floor, scraping loudly as if an invisible guest is pulling it out to take a seat. He immediately steps back into the room, staring at the chair in disbelief, and asks the only question left. Did this fucking chair just move? In paranormal investigations, daytime or well-lit activity is extremely rare and signifies an entity that has amassed a dangerous amount of energy. It no longer needs the cover of darkness to manifest. The act of pulling out a chair is intimately domestic. It's an intelligent, almost mocking gesture. The entity is telling him that it lives there too. It sits at his table, and it is entirely unafraid of him. At this point, the house doesn't belong to him anymore. So what do you think? Is this an aggressive poltergeist asserting dominance over the property? Or is there a much darker, demonic attachment at play? This next clip comes from a creator named Corey who learned the hard way that being home alone doesn't always mean the house is empty. It starts when his partner takes the dog out for a walk, leaving him completely by himself. That's when he begins hearing inexplicable noises echoing up from the basement, a bizarre repeated thud, followed by laughter and a blood-curdling, shrieking scream. Determined to prove he isn't losing his mind, he decides to run a simple experiment, marking the basement doors with pillows to see if anything physical is moving down there. The next day, the video he records confirms the impossible. The pillow has been pushed completely aside. He immediately sets up 2 security cameras to monitor the house, but the entity doesn't seem to care. His dog begins acting incredibly strange, pacing the hallway, whimpering, and just staring endlessly into an empty room. But the real terror happens when one of the cameras suddenly glitches and goes completely blank.
My partner stepped out with the dog for one last walk that night, and I was the only one left in the house at this point. I grabbed my phone as quick as I could and actually captured the noises. There was a couple different noises that were heard. It played that noise twice, and then laughter style, which you'll hear later, and then it also played like a very loud shrieking noise of a girl screaming. So I don't know, it came from the basement. It was just mind-numbingly loud. So I did what any composed man would do. I grabbed a knife and gave it a good 5 minutes and went down and looked around. So at this point I noticed everything was normal, and there's a couple rooms down there I didn't really care to look in, so I just marked the doors with pillows so I could go back and see if anything had moved the next day from my video I was taking. And at this point in time we determined just to get out of the house, take the dog with us, and
come on, Jesse, up.
Get out
Come
of
on.
there because there's just too many unexplained things.
Come on, up. Let's go. Come on, up.
Come on, Jesse.
Up. Go.
She had to come back the next day first thing, so I said, as soon as you get there, check for the ball at the door and then take pictures of the pillows downstairs. And this is what she sent me. Well, this is the original. This is what she sent me. Normal. Video. Next day. So at this point I realized, okay, someone's in the house. Get the hell out of there. And I went over there and put 2 cameras in there, one in the bonus room and one on the main floor, which captured everything. It was the weirdest thing. The dog just went up and down all day and just stared into a room and just whimpering back and forth. We're not gonna pretend like the decor up there is normal by any means. And then the camera did the weirdest thing. It just went blank. So she went back to check that night, and finally we captured the laughter on the cameras. Her motion had set it off and saved the clips, and to this very day we cannot explain what happened that day. Everything's been disconnected electronically in the house.
Now, here's where it gets deeply unsettling. While the screen is black, the camera's audio picks up a bizarre, wailing groan, immediately followed by a distinctly childlike voice calling out Mum. If you dive into the comments on his original post, sharp-eared viewers even point out a terrifying, hidden whisper earlier in the footage, directly asking, "Do you see me?" In paranormal theory, this specific type of vocal manipulation is the signature of a mimic. A mimic is an entity that replicates familiar, harmless, or vulnerable sounds, like a woman screaming or a child calling for its mother, specifically to lure its victims into isolated areas like a basement. The fact that his dog was terrified and the cameras malfunctioned right before the voice was captured suggests a massive spike in electromagnetic energy. The entity wasn't just trying to make some noise, it was actively trying to bait him back downstairs into the dark. This video you're about to watch comes from the home surveillance footage of a co-worker's house. According to the person who shared this, the homeowner has been dealing with a heavy, oppressive presence in this specific area of their house, claiming that they repeatedly see this exact same shadowy figure lurking around late at night. Finally, their security camera triggered and captured what they've been dreading. In paranormal analysis, whenever a hazy, indistinct shape drifts across the screen like that, skeptics immediately jump to a few standard conclusions. They'll argue it's just an out-of-focus bug walking across the camera lens, or perhaps the headlights of a passing car refracting through the glass. But we can definitively rule the car lights out. The co-worker who lives in the house confirmed that at the exact moment this anomaly was recorded, there were absolutely no cars driving by outside and no external lights shining onto the property. If there is no external light source, there can be no reflection, which means this shadow light anomaly wasn't caused by the environment. It was an intelligence generating its own luminous energy to manifest in our reality. What the camera caught wasn't a trick of lighting or a wandering insect. It was the physical visual discharge of the exact recurring entity the homeowner knows is waiting for them in the dark. What do you think about this? This next clip shows an anomaly that has baffled a homeowner for the last 4 years. One night, a strange, erratic light source triggered her camera's motion sensors, so she uploaded the video and it sparked a massive debate. The movement is so distinctly autonomous and fluttery that the creator's friend and dozens of people in the comments are entirely convinced the camera captured a fairy. Naturally, skeptics were quick to jump in with two main scientific explanations. Either it's simply a trick of the light reflecting off the kitchen counter, or it's the camera's infrared lights refracting off a tiny spider web hanging just in front of the lens. Keep those theories in mind as you watch the footage. If you watch the trajectory closely, both of those logical explanations completely fall apart. First, if this were merely a reflection, like a passing car's headlights sliding across the kitchen counter, the light would physically bend, distort, or break the moment it crossed the edge of the countertop. But it doesn't. The light maintains its shape and trajectory perfectly. It doesn't bend with the counter because it isn't on the counter. It is a free-floating, three-dimensional energy source moving through the air directly in front of it. The spiderweb theory is much more plausible. In fact, it's exactly what the homeowner thought when her Ring notifications first started going off like crazy. To solve the problem, she physically went out into the room and scrubbed that entire corner, checking for and clearing out any spider webs within a 5-foot radius. But here is the detail that turns this from a mild curiosity into a terrifying encounter. The footage we just watched was recorded after she cleaned the area. Whatever this anomaly was, it wasn't a web and it wasn't leaving. The persistent, unexplained presence of this energy finally pushed the homeowner to her breaking point. She was so spooked that she grabbed her dog at 3 a.m., abandoned the house, and drove 40 minutes to sleep on her parents' couch. When she finally returned the next day, the anomaly was completely gone and she never saw it again. What do you think that was? I'll let you be the judge. This next clip takes us into an environment universally recognized as a massive focal point for the unexplained, a cemetery. In paranormal research, graveyards are considered active batteries of residual energy that hold a dense concentration of spiritual activity simply due to the emotional weight and history attached to the ground. The footage comes from a creator who makes a regular habit of live streaming his late-night graveyard visits. As he stands in the dark, his face covered by a black balaclava while he interacts with his chat, pay close attention to the background just over his right shoulder.
Graben. Pinche velador está loco. Ese en Hidalgo. Dylan Adrián, ese en Hidalgo. No.
Right in the middle of his broadcast, the distinct silhouette of what appears to be a full-bodied figure casually walks through the shadows directly behind the tombstones. When someone repeatedly uses a final resting place for entertainment, they inevitably run the risk of disturbing whatever is anchored there. Spirits, much like the living, can eventually reach a breaking point when their peace is constantly interrupted. This manifestation doesn't feel like a random, wandering soul just caught on camera by accident. Given how often he streams there, it feels much more like a subtle, calculated warning. It's a quiet, but deeply unsettling way for the residents of that graveyard to let him know that they are watching, they just want to rest, and they have finally had enough of his cameras. If an entity is willing to step out of the shadows and walk directly behind you while you're live streaming, it might be time to find a new location to film. In this next clip, we explore a concept that's so scary, it sounds straight out of a nightmare. What if you aren't just living with a spirit, but living inside a monster house that is actively hunting you? You see, for weeks, the guy in this video had been dealing with deeply unsettling auditory phenomena, most notably hearing distinct, disembodied laughter in his house when he knew for a fact he was completely home alone. But tonight, the entity decided to stop laughing from the shadows and start physically interacting with the environment. He hears the heavy, rhythmic thud of his kitchen cabinets opening and slamming shut on their own. So, armed with his camera, he goes in to investigate. But what makes this footage so sinister is the undeniable intelligence behind the activity. The entity plays a predatory game of cat and mouse. The moment he steps into the kitchen, the noise dead stops. But the second he turns his camera away, it immediately starts again. Watch what happens when the entity finally decides to drop the act and show itself.
Something opens my cabinet and laughs.
No one's in my cabinet that I'm aware of. Oh my god. Fuck that. I swear one of these cupboards just went. It wasn't the same noise. It usually happens, but one of these. Maybe that. No, that won't go because it's got stuff in front of it. This is bullshit. I swear to God that cupboard is moving. Oh my god. Oh shit. Right, that's it. I'm going. Oh my god.
The sheer, unfiltered panic in his voice as he yells is the sound of a man realizing he is no longer at the top of the food chain in his own home. But the most chilling detail happens just as he turns to flee. The cabinet doesn't just slam shut, it violently swings completely wide open. In paranormal psychology, an entity that plays red light, green light with a victim isn't just haunting a space, it's actively trying to break the occupant down, psychologically, to establish dominance. When that cabinet swings wide open, right as he turns his back to run, it is the entity claiming its territory. This leaves us with one final, scary question. If your own home suddenly turned into a hunting ground and things around the house start playing games with you, what would you do? This next clip was posted by a mum who's convinced that her toddler has just seen a ghost. It is a long-standing theory in the paranormal community that young children possess a heightened awareness, allowing them to see things that adults simply brush past. What starts as a normal, happy moment between a mother and her toddler hanging out on the bed quickly shifts when the child's attention is completely derailed by something invisible in the room. The mother noted in her caption that while her daughter didn't cry before or after the specific footage, and that there have been other times in this house where she was absolutely petrified by whatever she was staring at. Watch her expression change and listen to what she points at.
By mommy's nipple. Why are you scared? Oh. What's wrong? Don't Dada. Where's Dada? Oh. Okay, oh, what are those? Huh? Others. I don't know. What is it? What is it? There's nothing out there. No, we are there. What? No, we are there. Where? We are there. Don't know it goes. A ghost? Did you say it's a ghost? No, it's a ghost. Where's a ghost? No, it's a ghost. Oh.
It's definitely chilling to watch a child go from laughing to being completely hyperfixated on an empty space. But the most striking part is her vocabulary. She explicitly points into the void and identifies the presence as a ghost. Toddlers don't really have the psychological capacity to fake a complex visual tracking response just for fun. She is actively watching something move across the room. The mum handles it like most parents probably would, assuming it's just her child's active imagination. But from an investigator's perspective, verbally acknowledging and inviting an unverified entity closer is always a risky move, even as a joke. It gives whatever is standing in that room validation. It leaves you wondering, when a child points to an empty corner and tells you someone is there, at what point do you stop laughing and start believing them? This next clip perfectly captures the terrifying progression of a physical haunting. When an entity first starts interacting with our world, it often tests the waters with smaller, easily dismissed movements before escalating to heavier objects. In the first half of the video, we are looking at a seemingly normal bedroom setup. Keep your eyes on the bag resting quietly on top of the bed.
Video lang. Makita tayo.
There is no visible string, no sudden tilt of the mattress, and no logical reason for a stationary bag to suddenly drag itself over the edge. The movement is a clear, downward pull. But whatever is in this house wasn't satisfied with just knocking luggage onto the floor. In the second part of the footage, the kinetic energy shifts, focusing on a seating arrangement. Watch closely because the extreme specificity of what happens next is what makes it so unnerving.
Tingnan nyo guys ha. Nandiyan na siya. Nandiyan na. Nandiyan na siya. Nandiyan na. Nandiyan na. Gumalaw yung bangko.
Notice how the surrounding environment remains completely undisturbed. The table doesn't bump. The stool right next to it doesn't wobble, and there is no shifting of the floor. Just a single chair being smoothly and deliberately dragged backward by an unseen hand. When paranormal activity is this targeted, it completely rules out environmental factors like heavy vibrations, earthquakes, or drafts. It proves that the entity has enough focus and density to grip a single, specific piece of furniture and move it with purpose. It isn't just lashing out blindly, it knows exactly what it wants to move, and it wants to make sure the homeowner is watching when it happens. This next footage gives us a rare, real-time look at an investigator actively negotiating with a poltergeist, and it perfectly illustrates how unpredictable and intelligent these entities can be. The video starts right after a violent physical disturbance. That heavy metal stand with the draping beads on the middle shelf had just swung forward on its own, violently striking the glass door of the display cabinet. The investigator immediately opens the right side door, hits record, and begins a direct communication session, challenging whatever is in the room to do it again. At first, the response is weak. We just see a slight, subtle jingling of the draped beads. It's the exact kind of movement a skeptic would immediately debunk as a heavy footstep, or the investigator subtly bumping the wooden cabinet. But the investigator knows this, so he doesn't back down. He verbally pushes the entity, asking it to actually swing the object like it did before. What the entity does in response leaves him completely unnerved and physically lightheaded.
Poltergeist.
So I'm sitting here gaming, and that object up there swung and literally smacked the glass really hard. Damn reflection, but look, still moving. Let's get you before it stops. Look, still moving. Oh no, it moved. Look, it was sitting there, as you can see from the dust. Oh, so it moved. Alright. Can you make it swing again? Damn, I really need to wipe off in there. Look at all that shit. Can you make it swing again? Try to open that more. Hello? Can you make it move again? Oh, look. It made them all move now. Nice. Can you make it swing like you did before when it hit the glass? It's going out of focus. Alright, now I said swing it, not move it. Jeez Louise. Jeez Louise. And I opened that thing, so probably let the damn thing out. Yo, this thing keeps moving. I'm like nervous and shaking. And I'm lightheaded a little bit. Keeps going out of focus. Surprised them things ain't shaking more, how much it moved. I'm so nervous, man. So lightheaded. I don't regret this, but can you make it move again? Can you make it move again? So lightheaded. Can you slide it the other way? Keeps going out of focus. Yo! Was that a nickel, a dime, a penny? Look, there's my change. That thing went flying. How did it not hit the glass? See, that's some glitch in the Matrix shit. Yo, I gotta rewatch that, cause how to get past that glass and fly behind this stuff. What is that? That's definitely not what flew out. I don't even know where.
In the following video, a Ring security camera in a seemingly quiet residential neighborhood captures a sequence of events that has left the homeowner, Adam Gibson, in a state of genuine distress. For weeks, Adam had been noticing peculiar movement on his property, fleeting shapes caught in his peripheral vision, and the sound of footsteps when no one else was outside. Initially, he attempted to brush these occurrences off as local wildlife or simple visual tricks, but the frequency began to form a pattern that made him feel as though he was being watched. His suspicions were finally validated when he reviewed his camera's archive. The footage focuses on Adam's driveway during the late hours of the night. Take a look. As you can see, a small, dark shape suddenly materializes on the left side of the frame and darts across toward the right. What makes this manifestation so baffling is its translucent quality. The texture of the pavement is clearly visible through the figure's form as it moves. It doesn't run with the heavy, rhythmic gait of a living person, but rather glides with a fluid, unnatural speed before vanishing into thin air just as it reaches the edge of the frame. Adam shared the footage in a paranormal research group on Facebook, admitting he is now scared because the activity has become so consistent. In paranormal theory, such sightings are often categorized as residual hauntings, echoes of the past that replay under specific conditions. However, the fluid speed has led some to speculate this could be a more sentient entity. Is Adam's yard a corridor for energy from another era, or is a spirit trying to communicate? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In the next video, a resident named Jorge Luis captures a sequence that blurs the line between a nightmare and a physical manifestation. Jorge explains that while he has experienced vivid dreams before, this night felt as if something were physically present in the room. He didn't wake up with a clear memory, but his surveillance footage revealed an anomaly that has left him terrified.
Get away. Get away. Get away from me. Help. He's also attacking me. I need help, someone. Help! Help! I'm trapped. I'm trapped. Let me out.
I see how. You're her hostage. Oh. This is my family. Don't take my family. Take me instead. Let them go.
At the start of the recording, pay close attention to the cross hanging above his bed. In a move that defies logic, the cross slowly rotates until it is completely upside down. This is a sign often cited in paranormal theory as a mocking presence. As Jorge tosses and turns, a dark, shadowy mass begins to coalesce in the corner, far denser than any natural shadow. The most heart-wrenching part of this footage is the audio. Amidst the silence, strange, disembodied whispers fill the room. Caught in the grip of a night terror, Jorge begins to plead for his life, audibly crying out, "Somebody help me, I need help," as if he is being physically overwhelmed. Jorge shared this footage with his followers, admitting that going back through the recording made him feel that something was actually there. The way the environment reacts to his distress, particularly the manipulation of the cross and the chilling vocal captures, suggests an entity that was feeding off his vulnerable state. In the field of paranormal research, this type of activity is often linked to shadow people or night hag phenomena, where an entity doesn't just haunt a space, but actively targets a person's subconscious. Theory suggests these beings act as psychic vampires, provoking extreme terror and pleas for help because they consume the raw emotional energy released during a state of sleep paralysis. Skeptics might look for strings, but the silent rotation of the cross, paired with those desperate pleas, remains baffling. Is Jorge's bedroom a site for spiritual interference, or did he invite something in that refuses to leave? I'll let you be the judge. In this next clip, we witness a chilling occurrence captured by a young man who was simply trying to enjoy a quiet night at home. While watching a scary video on his computer, he began to notice something that was far more frightening than anything on his screen. His bedroom curtains were moving entirely on their own. Jorge explains that he immediately checked for any logical explanations, but the fans in the room were turned off and there was no discernible draft. But that's not all that happened. Driven by a mix of fear and a need for answers, Jorge finally decided to look outside his window to see if a prowler was responsible for the disturbance. But what he captured on the street below was far more unsettling than a person.
So I'm just chilling in my room. The fans are on. When I was just watching this scary ass video, shadow figure just standing outside, like on the street, and just moved. I have no idea where my curtains are moving. Like, see, none of them were moving.
It's like there. That's a street lamp, but what is that underneath it? Cause that wasn't there 10 minutes ago, so I have no idea right now.
In the shadows cast by a flickering street lamp, a dark, stationary figure can be seen standing perfectly still. Jorge notes that this mysterious silhouette was not there just 10 minutes prior, and it seems to watch the house with an eerie, unblinking intensity. In paranormal theory, this is often described as a watcher. These entities are frequently reported in conjunction with physical disturbances like moving objects or curtains, suggesting they are capable of manifesting enough kinetic energy to interact with the environment from a distance. Whether this was a physical intruder or something far more spectral, the stillness of that figure on the street is enough to make anyone lock their doors. So what do you think? Was Jorge being hunted by a literal shadow, or was this a series of terrifying coincidences? In this next clip, we look at a deeply unsettling series of events captured by a home security camera in the bedroom of a woman named Sam Nicolay. During the early hours of the morning, while Sam was sound asleep, her peaceful night took a dark and heavy turn that would eventually force her to question the safety of her own home. Sam describes experiencing intense, vivid nightmares that night, dreams so oppressive and realistic that she felt a physical weight pressing down on her in the room. When she finally woke up, she felt completely drained, cold, and struck by an overwhelming sense of unease. Driven by a gut feeling that she wasn't actually alone, she decided to check her surveillance footage to see if anything unusual had occurred while she was unconscious. As the footage rolls, pay close attention to the area right beside the bed. A dark, human-shaped shadow can be seen moving with chilling intent. This isn't just a faint trick of the light or a reflection from a passing car. The figure is remarkably dense, standing out clearly against the bedsheets and furniture. The atmosphere in the video feels immediately charged as the entity continues to linger, seemingly watching her while she is in her most vulnerable state. Perhaps the most compelling evidence in this case is that this manifestation was solid enough to actually trigger the camera's motion sensor. In the field of paranormal research, this suggests that the entity had gathered a significant amount of kinetic energy. Many investigators believe that these types of presences are opportunistic, likely feeding off the raw fear and emotional distress Sam was experiencing during her night terrors. On a completely different night, the same terrifying pattern repeated itself. A nightmarish dream followed by a disturbing discovery on the DVR. If you look closely at the background of this third clip, you can see the shadow manifest once more, gliding silently through the room as if it has made itself a permanent, unwanted resident. Many in the paranormal community believe these figures are shadow people. These are often described as interdimensional beings or ancient spirits that thrive in high-stress, emotional environments. They are frequently reported by people suffering from sleep paralysis, leading to the theory that they don't just watch us, they actively provoke terror to sustain their physical form. Whether this was a lingering spirit tied to the property or something more predatory that attached itself to Sam, the sight of a dark figure looming over a sleeping person is the ultimate violation of peace. Was Sam being targeted by an intelligent, malevolent presence, or was this a physical manifestation of her own deep-seated fears? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In the next clip, we look at a situation that's as frustrating as it is frightening. A woman recently moved into a new house, and within days, her daughter began hearing an aggressive knocking sound coming from inside the walls of her bedroom. At first, the family tried to brush it off as the usual settling of an old house, but as the activity intensified, it became clear that this was something much more deliberate. The mother asked her daughter to record the audio, and what she recorded is genuinely bone-chilling. In the video, you can see a text overlay explaining the bizarre nature of these sounds. They always happen at night. They move from the exterior walls to the ceiling and back again, and strangely, they never occur when her husband is in the room.
I said, do it again, and it does it again. Do it again. What the? Do it again. One more. Do it again and see what happens. Like, get me out of this. Do it again.
Every time she says, "Do it again," a sharp, rhythmic knocking responds from within the structure of the room. This kind of responsive activity is a classic sign of an intelligent haunting. Unlike a residual haunting, which is more like a psychic recording playing on a loop, an intelligent entity is aware of its surroundings and can interact directly with the living. In the paranormal field, this is often interpreted as a mimic or a poltergeist, attempting to establish a line of communication. By responding to her voice, the entity is demonstrating that it isn't just a random mechanical noise, it's something with a will of its own. The mother's exhaustion is evident as she pleads, "Give me a break," yet the knocking persists, louder and more frequent than before. It's a haunting reminder that once you acknowledge a presence, it often becomes more active in its attempts to be heard. What do you think? Is this a spirit trying to tell its story, or something darker, testing the boundaries of its new environment? This next one is a bizarre piece of footage recorded on a phone camera that challenges our understanding of physical boundaries. The scene was captured late on the night after Good Friday in a bedroom bathed in purple light. According to the mother who shared the clip, her daughter witnessed a massive gathering of what she described as thousands of creatures, shapeshifters, and glowing figures walking toward a massive snowbank. This bank of snow is roughly 30 feet high, with absolutely no road or passage behind it. Yet, as the figures reached the bank, they appeared to vanish into thin air. Take a look. you have to look very carefully at the movement across the white expanse of snow. Something runs across the frame so quickly that even slowing it down barely clarifies its form. Perhaps most baffling is the appearance of a car speeding out of the area, despite the snow being far too high for any vehicle to pass, and there being no road in that direction. The daughter believes she was witnessing a portal, as the entities and the vehicle simply disappeared upon reaching a certain point. Among the crowd, she reported seeing giant figures, one of which reportedly looked directly into her second-story window. Other creatures appeared to be carrying what looked like newborns under their arms. Because this was recorded on a handheld phone camera rather than a fixed security system, many of the typical explanations like lens flare or infrared dust reflections don't easily apply here. The movement is erratic and seemingly independent of the camera's position. In paranormal theory, areas where multiple entities of different types are seen manifesting and disappearing are often called window areas. These are believed to be spots where the veil between dimensions is thin, allowing various beings to cross into our world momentarily before returning. So what do you think? Was this a rare glimpse into a hidden gateway, or a series of visual anomalies caught in the purple glare? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In the following clip, we're looking at a discovery that feels like the opening scene of a Hollywood horror movie, but for this hiker, the terror was all too real. This woman was trekking deep into a dense, isolated patch of woods when she stumbled upon a discarded, vintage-style camcorder lying in the dirt. And the most unsettling part? It was reportedly smeared with what looked like dried blood. Most people would have left it right there, but curiosity eventually got the better of her. She decided to bring it home and play back the footage to see what the previous owner had captured before they presumably abandoned the device in a hurry. What she found on the tape wasn't just a home movie, it was a record of something that was never supposed to be seen. As the camera pans across the thick, tangled tree line, you can see a tall, dark, human-shaped silhouette peeking out from behind a massive trunk. It's only visible for a split second, but the moment the lens locks onto it, the figure retreats into the shadows with a fluid, almost mechanical speed that no human could replicate. In paranormal circles, this is often labeled as a watcher, an entity that acts as a territorial spirit, guarding a specific location. The woman probably walked away thinking that the woods were the anchor, and that as long as she stayed off that particular trail and never went back, she'd be in the clear. She likely figured the camera was just a creepy souvenir of a place she'd never visit again. But boy, was she wrong. It turns out that when you bring a haunted object into your home, you aren't just bringing back a story, you're effectively inviting a guest that doesn't need a second invitation to stay. Back within the supposed safety of her own four walls, the reality of what she found in those woods began to settle in with a heavy, suffocating weight. She began to feel a relentless, aggressive energy that seemed determined to make its presence known at all hours of the night. It started with small things, items being slightly out of place, a door left ajar, but it quickly escalated into a full-on auditory assault. The footage she began recording in her own apartment shows a woman who is a shell of her former self, jumping at every creak of the floorboards.
It's the middle of the night and I just got woke up again. It's coming for me. It's in my house. The noises are coming from the kitchen. Listen. That's the noise that wakes me up every night. It gets me. It wakes me up in my dreams. It wakes me up from my sleep. I have to catch it on camera.
We often focus on the what of a haunting, the bangs, the slams, and the shadows, but we rarely see the systematic breakdown of a person's sense of security. Several viewers in the comments section pointed out a chilling theory that changes the entire context of this video. These entities don't just cause fear, they feed off it. They act like an emotional battery, using the adrenaline and the high-frequency panic of their host to manifest even more physical disturbances. The more she records, and the more terrified she becomes, the stronger the entity seems to get. It's a vicious cycle where the victim's own survival instincts are being weaponized against them. As the days drag on, the activity shifts from physical disturbances to something much more cruel and calculated. She's at her absolute breaking point, visibly exhausted from a total lack of sleep and the growing realization that she is being hunted within her own walls. But it's no longer just about things moving in the dark. Now, the entity is starting to speak back, and it's choosing the voices she trusts most. She reports hearing her sister and even her mother calling out her name from the other rooms, a chilling development considering she lives completely alone and her family is literally hundreds of miles away on the other side of the country.
It's getting worse, and I haven't been able to tell anyone or go anywhere because I don't have anywhere to go, and I don't have anyone who's believing me. At first, it was my sister, but now I hear my mom, and she doesn't live here. She lives on the other side of the country, and I just called her, and she's in her own home. She's not here right now. So who is that? I've gone through the whole entire apartment. There is no one else here but me. No one else.
If you listen closely to the audio while she's talking to the camera, there's a faint, rhythmic hello, hello, whispering from somewhere deep in the house beneath the sound of her own voice. By weaponizing her own family's voices, the entity is conducting a masterclass in emotional warfare. It knows that even in a state of terror, a human will instinctively move toward the sound of a loved one. At this point, she's not just fighting a haunting anymore, she's fighting for her own sanity. In a desperate attempt to find even a moment of peace, she finally fled the apartment. She jumped in her car and drove, hoping that the distance between her and that trail in the woods would finally mean something. But as she pulled into her apartment's public parking garage, she realized the distance didn't matter.
I was just walking out of my apartment, and look. Do you see that? You see that shadow? It's following me.
If you look at the shadow cast against the concrete wall behind the red car, you can see a tall, distorted figure that perfectly matches the silhouette from the blood-smeared camcorder she found in the woods. This confirms the worst-case scenario in any paranormal investigation, a person-centered attachment. The entity isn't tied to the woods, and it's not even tied to the camcorder anymore. It is tied to her. It has moved from being a watcher in the trees to a stalker in her shadow. In the final piece of evidence, we see her trying to navigate the most mundane parts of her day, but the sounds behind her are becoming impossible to ignore. She's just trying to head down the stairs of a parking structure, but every step she takes is met with a heavy, rhythmic echo that isn't her own. You can see the exhaustion in her hands as the camera shakes. She is a woman who has run out of places to hide.
I was just coming downstairs, and I keep hearing it. Sounds like it's always like one step behind me. Listen. Listen. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
According to paranormal experts, what we might be seeing here is a demonic attachment or a high-level shadow entity. Unlike a typical residual ghost that repeats the same actions over and over, these entities are predatory and intelligent. They use an initial point of curiosity, like picking up a discarded camera, as a legal invitation to latch onto a person's energetic field. Once that bond is formed, it's incredibly difficult to break because the entity is no longer powered by the object. It's powered by the victim's recognition of its presence. In a final, desperate attempt to end the nightmare, she reportedly returned to the woods and left the blood-smeared camcorder exactly where she found it, hoping that returning the anchor would keep the entity there. But the activity hasn't stopped. Whatever followed her out of those trees has no intention of going back to the dirt. It has a new home now. So what do you think? Is there any way to break a bond that transcends physical boundaries? Or are some attachments simply permanent? And more importantly, what would you do if you were in her shoes? This next clip takes us to a living room where a group of friends or siblings are gathered to record a sweet, seemingly innocent video. They're holding heart-shaped balloons and singing happy birthday in German, completely unaware that the camera is capturing a lot more than just their celebration. The lighting is warm, the mood is light, and it looks like a typical happy moment you'd send to a family member. But if you keep your eyes on the mirror hanging on the wall to the left, this wholesome video quickly turns into something straight out of a nightmare.
1, 2, 3, 4. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Zum Geburtstag alles Gute. Zum Geburtstag viel Glück. Alles Liebe zum Geburtstag, Mama.
As the song comes to an end and the group starts laughing and popping their balloons, pay close attention to the reflection in that oval mirror. For just a split second, a pale, almost translucent figure with what looks like wings glides past the glass. It moves with a smooth, unnatural glide, completely out of sync with the chaotic energy of the room. The moment the figure passes out of frame, the mirror detaches from the wall and crashes to the ground, taking the room from a state of celebration to a state of absolute shock. It's as if whatever was watching them from the reflection decided it was done being ignored. So, what do you think? Was this a guardian angel making a very dramatic entrance for a birthday? Or is it a case of an unseen entity using the mirror as a portal before violently closing the door behind it? I'll leave you to come up with your own conclusions. In this next clip, we're taken back to 2016, inside the decaying hallways of the Central State Sanatorium in Indiana. A group of friends was exploring the abandoned site, looking for thrills, but finding nothing but empty rooms and a heavy, oppressive silence. At least, that's what they thought at the time. They didn't notice anything out of the ordinary during the actual investigation and only realized something was wrong once they got home. It wasn't until they played the footage back on an old speaker that they heard a voice that definitely didn't belong to anyone in their group, proving that they weren't as alone in those dark corridors as they believed.
Is that blood? Is anybody here with us? You can talk. We're here to listen.
You really have to listen closely to catch this one, but once you hear it, it's impossible to ignore. Right in the middle of the audio, you can hear a faint, gravelly, disembodied voice clearly ask, "Hello, what's your name?" followed by a series of heavy, rhythmic breaths that seem to follow the camera throughout the room. In the world of paranormal research, this is a textbook example of an electronic voice phenomenon, or EVP. While many EVPs are residual, essentially just a glitch in time playing back a past event, a direct, relevant question like this points toward an intelligent haunting. It suggests an entity that is not only aware of its environment, but is actively trying to bridge the gap and start a dialogue with the living. The persistent heavy breathing is the real hair on the back of your neck moment. It's often interpreted as an entity exerting a massive amount of energy just to manifest its presence in our physical world. Was this a lost soul from the sanatorium's past, just looking for a bit of human connection? Or is there something much more sentient and watchful still walking those halls? This next clip takes us to the sterile, dimly lit hallway of a brand new apartment building where a content creator was just trying to film a routine room tour for his followers. He's visibly excited about the move, but the celebratory vibe of the video takes a sharp, jagged turn the second he steps out into the corridor. He accidentally bumps into a man standing perfectly still in the shadows. And while most of us would expect a quick apology or a friendly wave, he's met with a silence that feels heavy and entirely intentional. He tries to play it off with some friendly neighborly chatter, introducing himself as the new guy on the floor and even offering to help if the man needs anything. But the figure doesn't move a single muscle in response.
Je voulais faire un zoom tour de mon nouvel appart.
Un petit peu là où j'habite. Oh. J'ai emménagé. Oh.
Je l'avais pas vu.
Pardon, je suis désolé. Je suis votre nouveau voisin. J'ai emménagé avant-hier. Du coup, enchanté.
Tu sens ce malaise?
Ça va, monsieur? Monsieur, ça va?
Il ne dit rien.
Bah, si vous avez besoin de quoi que ce soit, vous me dites, hein, vous frappez, pas de soucis.
Regarde les doigts. Ça veut dire un truc?
Ça va, monsieur? Bon. Bah, bonne journée, du coup.
Allez, je flippe là, je rentre. Avis?
If you look closely at the zoom in on the man's hand, you can see his fingers moving in an incredibly fast, rhythmic, and unnatural twitch that completely contradicts the absolute stillness of the rest of his body. In paranormal research, this kind of erratic movement is often flagged as involuntary manifestation, a sign that an entity is struggling to keep a physical, human-like form stable. The creator's own caption even asks if the fingers mean something, and for many viewers, the answer is a resounding yes. It's as if the neighbor isn't a person at all, but a creature wearing a human suit that hasn't quite figured out how the nervous system is supposed to work. The absolute lack of a verbal response, even when the creator offers a friendly greeting, suggests we're looking at something that doesn't understand the basic rules of human interaction. What do you think? Is this just a case of a neighbor dealing with a severe neurological condition and a very awkward social moment? Or did this creator accidentally catch a glimpse of something that's merely pretending to belong in our world? In this next clip, we're following a guy named Jorge who was just trying to have a chill night at home. They say you shouldn't watch horror movies alone, mostly because your brain starts playing tricks on you, but for Jorge, the real scare wasn't on the screen. It was happening right behind his desk. While he was deep into a video, he noticed his bedroom curtains starting to sway. We're not talking about a gentle nudge from a breeze. They were moving with a heavy, deliberate motion. Jorge was quick to point out that every fan in the room was killed, and the windows were sealed tight. There was zero airflow, yet the fabric was acting like it was being pulled by an invisible hand. Hoping to catch a prankster, or maybe just find a logical explanation that would let him sleep, he finally worked up the nerve to look down at the street below.
So I'm just chilling in my room. The fans are on. When I was just watching this scary ass video, shadow figure just standing outside, like on the street, and just moved. I have no idea where my curtains are moving. Like, see, none of them were moving. Let's peek outside. It's like right there. That's a street lamp, but what is that underneath it? Cause that wasn't there 10 minutes ago, so I have no idea right now.
Standing directly under the pool of a flickering street lamp was a dark, stationary silhouette. It wasn't a neighbor out for a walk or a random passerby. This figure was perfectly still, seemingly staring up at his window with an eerie, unblinking intensity. Jorge noted that the street was completely empty just 10 minutes prior, making this figure's sudden appearance feel very intentional. In paranormal circles, this is often labeled as a watcher. These entities are frequently reported in conjunction with physical disturbances, like those moving curtains, suggesting they're capable of interacting with the environment from a distance. Whether this was a literal prowler or something much more spectral, the absolute stillness of that figure is enough to make anyone double check their locks. The following video you're about to watch was taken off the security camera of a daycare, and what happens on this day was a visceral display of a child's instinctive fear that has since left the staff questioning the safety of their space. Children are often dismissed for having overactive imaginations, but the reaction of the young boy in this footage suggests he was responding to a very real threat. As he plays alone in the back room, he suddenly bolts toward the main area, his screams indicating a level of terror that goes beyond a simple jump scare. His guardian immediately rushes in to find the source of the disturbance, but the room appears empty. While she's there, the entity makes its presence undeniably known in the area where the kids are playing.
Were you in there? Were you in there? No. Who knocked this over? Who knocked this over? Maybe it was just air. Yeah, what was it done? Good. I
While the adult is searching for an intruder, a heavy plastic playhouse is violently flipped over by an unseen force. This requires significant kinetic mass, far beyond what a simple draft or unbalanced toy could achieve. But the most unsettling detail is what many viewers, and eventually the staff, spotted upon reviewing the playback. If you look closely at the white door frame just as the boy flees, you can see dark, finger-like appendages briefly gripping the top of the trim. It appears as though something was literally hanging over the doorway, watching the child escape. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the things children fear aren't just in their heads, they are actually waiting in the shadows. Seeking an explanation for this aggressive outburst, the Guardian returned to the now abandoned room to investigate a potential catalyst for the activity. Hoping to understand why the little boy was so terrified to even glance at the door, she highlights a specific piece of furniture that many paranormal researchers often warn against as a high-risk object. In the corner of the room sits a child-sized vanity with mirrors positioned in such a way that they directly face one another.
I wanted to quickly show you exactly what it was that was scaring the little kid that my mom was watching. So pretty much, so firstly we have the house, and obviously you guys saw that it fell, but the other thing I wanted to point out was that it's pretty hefty, so it really doesn't make any sense that it would just fall on its own like that. So that's just something I wanted to point out. And this is the room. The crazy thing about this is that there was like markings at the top of the entranceway of like the doorway, and I guess in the video you can see hands gripping onto the doorway. I don't really know what to make of that. I thought at first that it was like bugs or something like that, but it looked almost like two hands like gripping on the top, like leading into this room, just like. But the main thing, and the reason that the little boy was screaming, is actually in here. We have this covered up for a reason. Apparently, the little boy told my mom that he saw a face in these mirrors. We already found someone who's going to take it off our hands and pick it up off Facebook Marketplace, but we have been keeping this room off limits.
The boy claimed to have seen a face manifesting within the glass, a detail that aligns perfectly with long-standing occult folklore regarding infinity mirrors. In many spiritual traditions, placing mirrors in this exact position, where two mirrors are facing themselves, is believed to create a spiritual corridor or a portal, essentially thinning the veil between our world and the next. The infinite reflection is thought to act as a bridge, allowing entities from the periphery to step into our physical reality. Because of this, the Daycare has declared the room off limits, but the physical violence we witnessed with the playhouse suggests that simply keeping the door shut might not be enough to contain what came through. Once a portal is established, the energy energy tends to anchor itself to the space. It's a sobering look at how a simple decorative choice might have invited an unwanted guest into a place meant for play. Recognizing that the situation was escalating, the staff made the difficult decision to remove the suspected source of the energy from the premises entirely. In an effort to restore peace to the daycare, they listed the vanity on Facebook Marketplace, being fully transparent with potential buyers about the strange history attached to the piece.
That we're going to keep the room closed off from the kiddos for now so they can play in the rest of the space. We actually are going to go ahead and get rid of the vanity. We put it on Facebook Marketplace. Obviously we told them like, hey, like, we think that this is responsible for some weird haunting stuff. They said they were fine with it, so I don't know. This is closed off for now, so the kids are just gonna stay here and not in there anymore until we get this figured out.
Despite the warnings, an urgent buyer came forward, claiming to be unbothered by the reported hauntings. This decision to offload the object highlights a common dilemma in paranormal cases. Does removing an anchored object truly end the activity, or does the entity remain attached to the location itself? The issue might be with the room's layout, rather than the vanity, as the environmental thinness created by the mirrors might persist even after they are gone. For now, the room remains gated and empty, a silent zone in a building that should be filled with laughter. The daycare staff is hopeful that once the vanity is hauled away, the hand at the top of the door frame and the shifting shadows will go with it. But as any seasoned investigator will tell you, some doors, once opened, are notoriously difficult to close, especially when they have been welcomed by a configuration that invites the unknown. While the staff waited for the buyer to arrive, the daycare remained in a state of high alert. The vanity was still positioned in the back room, serving as a silent, reflecting observer of the growing tension. However, any hopes that the entity would remain passive until the piece was removed were quickly shattered. In the following sequence, the security camera captures an event that defies the mechanical reality of the building. The door leading into the restricted room, which had been firmly latched shut to keep the children out, begins to swing open with a slow, deliberate motion. There are no drafts in the building strong enough to disengage a physical latch, yet the door moves as if pushed by a steady, invisible hand. The fact that the vanity remained in the room during this manifestation suggests a defensive posture from the entity, as if it were asserting its claim over the space before its anchor could be taken away. This kind of interaction is frequently reported in homes where a haunted object is about to be removed. The activity often spikes in intensity, becoming more overt and aggressive. It's as though the presence is no longer content with subtle hints and has moved into a phase of direct physical defiance, making it clear that it won't be ignored. As the tension continued to mount, the staff decided to use a common piece of children's equipment to monitor the room from a distance. One walkie-talkie was left in the back room alongside the vanity, while the other remained with the staff in the main daycare area. It was a simple experiment, but the results were anything but expected. Through the static of the walkie-talkie, a series of rhythmic, deliberate sounds began to emerge. These weren't just the random pops of interference. They sounded remarkably like heavy, measured footsteps, or perhaps a persistent tapping on a wooden surface. The regularity of the noise suggests a sentient source, something pacing the restricted room while the door remained shut. In paranormal investigations, this is a classic manifestation of an entity using communication devices to bridge the gap between the unseen and the audible. Since the other walkie-talkie was directly in the presence of the portal mirrors, it's theorized that the device was acting as a microphone for the activity occurring in that thinned reality. There's a specific irony in using such a brightly colored, cheerful toy to capture something so ominous. It reinforces the idea that this presence has fully integrated itself into the daycare's environment, utilizing whatever objects are at its disposal to signal its existence. The final confirmation of the room's energy came through through a physical sweep. The Guardian carried the walkie-talkie through the daycare to determine if the interference was widespread or localized. As she moves between the main hallway and the threshold of the restricted room, the difference in auditory feedback is startling. Outside the room, the device is relatively quiet, but the second she steps into the space containing the vanity, the walkie-talkie erupts into a frantic, rhythmic clicking. It sounds remarkably like a Geiger counter hitting a radioactive hot zone. When she retreats, the noise vanishes. When she enters, it returns with aggressive speed. This localization is the definitive hallmark of an anchored haunting. It confirms that the entity's influence is tethered specifically to that square footage. Some commenters have suggested that the vanity didn't just bring the energy, it acted as the lightning rod that allowed it to strike. The daycare has since moved the furniture and had the space cleansed, hoping that removing the portal would finally break the entity's grip on the building. Whether the daycare is truly quiet now remains to be seen, but the physical evidence captured across these 6 clips tells a story of an uninvited guest that was very much at home. So, what do you think? Is the room finally empty, or did the vanity simply leave behind a permanent hole in the veil? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. In this next clip, a routine night of monitoring a sleeping child turns into a parent's worst nightmare. Many families use nursery cameras for peace of mind, but for this household, the technology captured a physical interaction that defies a rational explanation. As the child sleeps soundly in their crib, pay close attention to the white charging cord and controller hanging off the edge of the nearby furniture. From the deep shadows beneath the crib, a small, pale, hand-like manifestation reaches out and distinctly grips the cord, pulling it downward with deliberate force. The child instantly stirs, as if sensing a presence in the immediate vicinity. In paranormal research, these partial manifestations are particularly chilling because they suggest an entity that has gathered enough energy to form physical appendages. The shape of the hand appears small, leading some to speculate it could be a child's spirit, but the aggressive nature of the movement has others fearing a more opportunistic presence. It is a stark reminder that even in the supposed safety of a nursery, we may not be as alone as we think. The activity in the home didn't stop with subtle tugs on a wire. The next day, the homeowners decided to take a more proactive approach after a series of unexplained events left them feeling uneasy in their own space. They set up an infrared camera to monitor the main living area while the entire family was out of the house, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever was causing the disturbances. What they captured instead was an auditory assault that suggests an intelligent and seemingly territorial presence. Amidst the normal background noise of the empty house, the silence is suddenly shattered by a massive, booming bang that sounds as if it's coming from right next to the camera lens. The force of the sound is so intense, it causes a visible distortion in the audio feed. But the most chilling part happens just seconds later. As the echoes of the bang fade, a clear, deliberate, and very human-sounding shh is heard, as if the entity is mocking the recording device, or perhaps hushing the house itself. Later in the same recording, the homeowners also captured the distinct sound of whistling and witnessed clothing hanging on a rack, moving on its own. This combination of physical manipulation and vocal mimicry is a hallmark of a high-energy haunting, where the entity is no longer hiding, but actively engaging with the environment. For these residents, the shh was the final straw, a direct sign that whatever is in their home knows they are watching. Is this a spirit asserting its dominance over the home while the owners are away, or is it trying to warn them of something even more malevolent lurking in the walls? In the following clip you're about to watch, we see a terrifying example of a child interacting with something that an adult is completely blind to. A mother is just casually filming her little boy, Jensen, while he lines up his toy cars on the living room floor. It's a completely innocent, quiet moment, right up until a sudden noise echoes from the other side of the room. What makes this video so chilling isn't the sound itself, but Jensen's immediate, visceral reaction to it. According to his mum, he is not typically a cuddly or clingy kid, but the absolute second this happens, his survival instincts completely take over. Watch what happens when his mum starts asking him very specific questions about exactly what he is looking at.
What? It's okay. Do you see someone?
Yes.
Who do you see?
Dad.
Who is it?
Daddy.
You see someone over there? What are they doing? That's what they're doing?
Yes.
Are they scary? Are they nice? Like, do you want to go play with them? They're not there no more?
Yes.
They are? What are they doing? Is there still someone over there by your toys?
Yes.
Is it a man? Or is it a lady?
Daddy.
A lady? It's a woman? Do you know her name?
Dad.
What's her name?
That's true.
Oh, she's in the kitchen now? Oh.
It's high.
She's up high?
Yes. Dad. Oh. Dad. Oh.
What?
This.
What is it?
Dad.
You tell me, I don't see anything.
Oh, Dad.
You keep pointing by your toys. Is there someone by your toys?
Oh, shit.
You keep pointing to the chair.
Oh.
Is there someone in the chair?
Yes.
Can you point to where you see someone? Where are they?
Dad.
They're right there. What are they doing?
Dad. I see. Dad.
The chair?
Dad.
Over by your toys?
Yes.
Well, are they gone now? Did they go bye-bye?
Dad.
Right there?
Yes, I see.
They're by the chair?
Yes.
Can you wave to them if you see them?
Dad. Dad got it. Mommy?
Yeah?
Dad. I see.
You see them?
I see.
Is it boy or girl?
Girl.
A girl?
Girl.
You see the girl?
Oh,
Can you ask her name?
a girl.
A girl. You see a girl? Does she make you happy or scared? Scared?
I see her dad.
Yeah, you keep pointing to the chair.
A girl.
A girl? Is she old? Like, is she maybe mommy's grandma?
A girl.
A girl?
A girl. A dad.
A girl sitting over there.
A girl. I see that.
You see that? You see a girl?
A girl says I see that. Go see.
Oh.
Shit.
Did she wave to you?
No, I see that.
Is she nice?
Let's
Oh, she is nice. Where is she?
bye.
I know you're waving to the chair, but where is she behind? Like, can you look at her? Is she there? I don't see her, do you?
Pop.
Oh. Did she leave?
Nope.
No, she's still there?
Let's.
Where? I put you down and you go show me where she is? Go show me. Go by her. Can you go give her a high five?
Nope.
Why?
High five.
You don't want to?
There is nothing more unsettling than a toddler casually describing a nightmare standing right in front of them. When she asks what the presence is doing, the terrifying face and sound he mimics to demonstrate is pure nightmare fuel. But the absolute scariest part of this footage is how he physically tracks the entity's movements in real time. He doesn't just stare at one dark corner. He points to the end of the living room, then tracks it moving into the kitchen, and finally points straight up to the ceiling. In paranormal research, an entity that defies gravity to crawl or hover on a ceiling is almost never classified as a standard human spirit. That kind of unnatural, spider-like movement is a classic hallmark of something much darker, often associated with demonic entities or crawlers. The fact that this entity is intentionally keeping itself hidden from the adults while actively showing itself to the toddler is a textbook isolation tactic. It knows the child's sensory filters are still wide open, and it is deliberately using that connection to feed off his pure, unfiltered panic. After little Jensen's terrifying encounter with whatever was crawling on the ceiling, the family understandably set up a security camera to see what was actually happening in their living room. And a few days later, the camera caught another incident. The older brother, Tucker, is just getting ready to head out with his mum, but as he's standing there, the environment is clearly highly active. Keep your focus on the little toy duck sitting completely by itself in the middle of the floor, and keep an eye out for the strange, illuminated anomalies floating through the air. Watch Tucker's body language closely too. It looks like he might actually catch a glimpse of the movement out of the corner of his eye before they walk out the door. When you combine floating orbs with actual physical object manipulation, it completely changes the conversation. Skeptics love to quickly debunk orbs as just dust particles or bugs catching the infrared light of a security camera. But in paranormal research, when an orb is captured in the exact same frame as a heavy physical interaction, like a toy being dragged across the floor, investigators classify those spheres as concentrated balls of raw spiritual energy actively trying to manifest. The creepiest part of this footage is the timeline of the movement. The entity moves the duck slightly while Tucker is standing right there, almost like it's testing the waters to see if he notices. But the absolute second the front door closes and the house is completely empty, the toy is forcefully dragged even further to the right. It proves that whatever has attached itself to this family isn't just putting on a spooky show for an audience. It is physically occupying their space, and it has absolutely no problem playing with the kids' toys the moment they leave the room. In this next clip, we look at the absolute worst case scenario for anyone who lives by themselves. The guy filming this is just returning home after stepping out for the night. As he walks up to his house, he casually glances up at his second-story window, but instead of the dark, empty room he was expecting, he sees something that stops him completely in his tracks. Someone, or something, is already inside, looking right back down at him. Keep in mind, his caption explicitly states that he lives completely alone.
No mamen. Acabo de llegar del trabajo y vean lo que estoy viendo en la ventana. No mamen.
Seeing a pale, almost translucent face staring out from a pitch-black room is pure nightmare fuel. In the paranormal community, entities that present themselves exactly like this are often referred to as watchers. Unlike poltergeists that aggressively throw things around to cause chaos and fear, watchers are incredibly still, quiet, and deeply territorial. They usually claim a specific room or floor of a house and simply observe the living. However, the fact that it is intentionally hovering right at the glass while he is standing outside shows a terrifying level of awareness. It isn't just mindlessly haunting a corner of the room, it is actively looking out the window, watching him return. It is a bold, territorial display, basically daring him to come inside, unlock his front door, and try to go to sleep. You see, just because you pay the rent doesn't mean you actually live alone. So, what do you think that is? I'll leave you to be the judge. In this next clip, we tap into one of the most primal fears you can experience. You're home completely alone, locked in your bedroom, when someone starts knocking and calling your name in your mother's exact voice. The only problem, the first time this happened, she was actually on the phone with her real mum at that exact moment, who confirms she isn't anywhere near the house. When dealing with a mimic, the golden rule is to never respond and never open the door. But watch what happens when she refuses to answer and the entity decides it's completely tired of waiting in the hallway.
Hey guys, I'm home alone and I'm getting ready for bed.
Adrena!
Mom? Are you home?
Adrena! Are you there?
Wait, I thought you weren't going to be home for another 30 minutes. What?
Adrena!
Her scream, as that door slowly swings open to reveal an empty hallway, is absolutely bone-chilling. But that final moment actually sparked a massive debate in the comments. Are mimics physically capable of opening doors on their own? In traditional paranormal lore, the answer is almost always no. Mimics are considered psychological predators. They copy the voices of your loved ones, specifically to bait you into opening the door, because they lack the kinetic energy or the spiritual permission to cross a closed boundary on their own. They rely entirely on trickery to get an invitation. So, what does it mean if the door opens by itself? From a paranormal theory standpoint, it suggests two incredibly terrifying possibilities. Either this entity has been feeding off her raw panic long enough to gather the physical power of a poltergeist, or it was never just a mimic to begin with. What do you think it was? In this next clip, a man was walking through the Valley Plaza Mall late at night, long after the stores had closed and the crowds had gone home. It should be dead silent, but as he's walking past the dark storefronts and empty massage chairs, he hears something that immediately makes his blood run cold. The distinct, echoing sound of children laughing. So, he immediately pulls out his phone to document it and manages to capture the giggling on camera. But as he's trying to figure out where the sound is coming from, he notices something moving in the shadows down the hall. Keep your eyes on the dark kiosk counter in the distance and listen closely.
On everything I love, I just heard a group of kids over here laughing. On everything, bro. I just heard a group of kids laughing. Where the hell the kids at? What the fuck? Bro, I know I'm not tripping, bro. I just heard a whole bunch of kids laughing, bro. You hear that shit? What the fuck? Bro, I'm in the mall by myself. Where the fuck is that shit coming from? I know y'all heard that shit. Bro, what the fuck? I'm about to get about this bitch. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Staring right at me. Right there. My heart beating fast as fuck, bro. I'm scared as fuck. There's a person right there in a red shirt right in front of me. Right there, y'all see him. There's a person right there. Bro, what the fuck going on? He just standing there. Bro, he just standing there, bro. Bro. I'm out of here.
Hearing a child's laugh in an abandoned or empty space is basically the ultimate horror movie cliche, but in the paranormal community, it is actually taken very seriously. There are generally two schools of thought when it comes to phantom children. The first is that it's residual energy. Malls are places of high emotion, excitement, and energy, especially for kids. That intense joy can basically get recorded into the environment, playing back like a broken tape when the building is quiet. However, the second theory is much darker. Many investigators believe that malevolent entities will actively mimic the voices of crying or laughing children. It's a predatory tactic designed to instantly lower your guard and trigger your natural instinct to go investigate and help. When you combine that phantom laughing with a physical shadow ducking behind a counter in the distance, it looks a lot less like a residual echo and a lot more like an intelligent entity playing a very dark game of hide and seek, actively trying to bait him further into the dark mall. This next video was recorded by a father and daughter duo who were touring the historic streets of Galveston, Texas. Galveston is widely considered one of the most haunted cities in the United States, largely due to its tragic history with the Great Storm of 1900. For these two, ghost hunting is a shared passion, but they actually managed to capture their most compelling evidence without even realizing it. While they were filming the exterior of one of the city's famous Victorian-style houses, they missed the figure standing in the second-story window. It wasn't until they got home and rewatched the footage that they saw the pale shape looking back at them before it seemingly retreats into the darkness of the room.
Alright, so we took this video a while back. It's probably about 4 years ago when I took my daughter to Galveston. We're doing those ghost tours. And later we come back and my daughter says, "Dad, look, I think I got something on one of her live photos that she did." And we've always wondered if that was something, but y'all let me know what y'all think. We think it's somebody there, like a ghost, and then he disappears. Like he's in the frame, and then he disappears in the window. Now I'm gonna zoom in on it and play it. It was a live, so I have to zoom in and then do it because it's hard to see the whole video, but when we saw it there, that's what we call it. Y'all tell me what y'all think this is. So like you see there's a guy right there, like the picture of him, and then if you look, it's like he walks away, like it walks from, he's there and then he just walks away like through the thing. So y'all tell me what y'all think about that. I don't know. I know it's kind of hard to see on there, and I was trying to zoom in and zoom out and trying to get a closer look at it, but the first picture I put, it shows like it's still framing me up close, and it looks like a guy with like a hat with the white, looks like a figure in that window. I said I had to try to zoom in because it's a live video, so if you push it one way, you have to zoom on it just right so it follows it. But I don't know. What do y'all guys think? Do we get something? Do we not get something? Is it maybe something? Like, could it be a ghost? Could it not be a ghost? I wanted to research more on like that house because apparently there was a lot of stuff that went on in that house. If you've ever taken the tour in Galveston, one of them that goes by, we've taken a couple times just because me and my daughters, we love to go ghost hunting. But we've taken it a couple times. They showed us other pictures and stuff around there. Some other pictures other people have taken. But yeah, just let me know what y'all think. I mean, I talked to one of the tour guides that gave us the tour last time. I showed her that, and she was like, yeah, I think that's something. So I don't know if she's saying that or what, but y'all tell me what y'all think.
Galveston's haunted reputation comes from a massive amount of residual energy left behind by its turbulent past. These old houses are like sponges for spiritual activity, and sightings of figures in white are incredibly common in this area. Often, these are believed to be the spirits of former residents who are still tethered to their family homes, repeating their daily routines in a loop. However, the way this figure moves is what has paranormal investigators talking. A residual haunting usually doesn't react to the living. It just plays like a movie on a loop. But this figure appears to notice the camera and immediately moves away, which suggests an intelligent entity. It knew it was being watched and chose to disappear back into the shadows of the house. What do you think that was? Was that a spirit of old Galveston watching from the shadows? Or is it just a trick of the light? I'll leave you to be the judge. The following clip you're about to watch was captured by a family who believe that their house is haunted. And honestly, after seeing this, it's hard to blame them. After weeks of things going bump in the night, they decided to set up an infrared camera to see what was happening in the living room while they were out. They probably expected a door to drift or a shadow to pass by, but what they got instead was a full-on auditory assault. Right in the middle of the quiet, empty house, there's this massive, booming bang that hits so hard it actually distorts the audio feed. It's not just a settling floorboard, it's a localized burst of energy. But the real hair on the back of your neck moment happens seconds later. As the echo fades, you can hear a clear, very human sounding shh. It's as if the entity is mocking the camera or telling the house to keep its mouth shut. Some eagle-eyed viewers even pointed out a faint sniffing sound right before the hush. To top it off, they later caught the sound of whistling and saw clothes on a rack moving by themselves. This isn't just a residual haunting, it's an entity that's fully aware it's being watched and seems to be getting a kick out of performing for the lens. The activity didn't remain a silent observer for long. It soon began to respond directly to the family's attempts at communication. In this next sequence, the mother and her children decide to test if the presence in their hallway is capable of following instructions, treating the encounter not with fear, but with a surprising level of curiosity.
Close the door. Can you close the door, please? What the fuck?
Let me ask. Open the door if you need help.
What the? Oh my, it opened it wide as shit. Oh my god.
Close the door if you need help.
I swear to God, I put it on.
Oh my, why is it doing? What the, bro, no. Yes, I knew. Yes, I knew. Elgin, please.
Do you see
Elgin,
it?
can you please? It's closed all the way, bro. It's closed all the way.
Open it.
Oh my god.
Close the door if you need help. Close the door.
I'm getting scared. I'm getting so I'm gonna cry, bro.
Standing in the living room, they ask the entity to open the door if it needs help. Almost instantly, the heavy door at the end of the hall swings wide with a slow, purposeful motion. The interaction becomes even more startling when they ask it to close the door. The door doesn't just drift shut, it is pushed with enough force to fully engage the latch. You can clearly hear the mechanical click as the door locks back into place, a feat that would be impossible for a simple draft or a shifting foundation to accomplish. This level of precision indicates an intelligent entity with the ability to manipulate hardware and respond to verbal cues in real time. The family is left standing in a house where the doors act as a medium for dialogue, confirming that the shh from the previous night was just the beginning of a much more interactive haunting. It seems the entity isn't just living in the house, it's listening to every word they say. As the activity within the house intensified, the family began to suspect that the disturbances were not limited to the interior walls. Driven by the sound of inexplicable noises echoing from the darkness of their property, the father decided to extend his surveillance to the backyard, hoping to identify a natural cause for the unrest. What he discovered was a new, bizarre layer of the anomaly, one that seemed to possess a more organic, yet entirely unnatural form. Listen carefully and watch out for the orbs. In the grainy night vision footage, what appears to be a large, bird-like creature is seen momentarily before the atmosphere is flooded with strange orbs of light. These aren't the typical dust motes or insects often dismissed in paranormal videos. These orbs possess a self-luminous quality and a level of intentionality in their movement that causes the camera's digital tracking system to visibly struggle. It frantically pans and zooms, unable to lock onto the rapidly shifting light sources that appear to be playing a game of hide and seek with the lens. The father noted that these visual anomalies are consistently accompanied by unusual, sharp sounds that seem to originate from the air itself. This expansion of the haunting suggests that whatever is interacting with the family isn't just claiming a room, it's claiming their entire environment. The presence is no longer just the thing in the hallway, it has become a pervasive shadow that covers every square inch of their lives, waiting for the cover of night to manifest its most bizarre and evasive forms. Throughout the documentation of these events, viewers consistently offered the same piece of advice: move. For most, the logical solution to a haunted house is to simply leave it behind and start fresh. Taking this suggestion to heart, the family uprooted their lives and settled into a completely different residence, hoping to find the peace that had been stolen from them in their previous home. However, in this next sequence, the true, terrifying nature of their situation is finally revealed. At exactly 3:00 a.m., in the absolute silence of their brand new home, the familiar sounds of the unknown returned with a vengeance. Despite using software to strip away the white noise, the audio remains sharp, with the sounds of deliberate knocking and heavy objects falling from shelves in the distance. The father, audibly exhausted, addresses his audience with a chilling realization that changes everything. He confirms that this is his new house, yet the activity remains unchanged. This is the definitive moment the narrative shifts from a haunted house to a haunted family. In paranormal terminology, this is a person-centered haunting, where the entity is anchored not to a physical structure or historical site, but to the individuals themselves. Moving 1,000 miles away wouldn't make a difference. The shh and the shadows are traveling with them in the moving truck, making it clear that there is no geographic escape from what has chosen them. In the final and most conclusive piece of evidence, the father decides to confront the presence in their new kitchen, seeking a direct answer to the question that has been haunting them more than the entity itself. Sitting in the middle of a room that should be a sanctuary, he begins a verbal dialogue, asking the entity to manifest a sound on command.
Hello? Can you make a noise? Can you make a loud noise? Is this your old house? Have you been following us? I can hear you. Are you in the kitchen? Can you knock 2 times? only hear one knock. Can you consistently knock 2 times? What is your name?
The response is immediate and chillingly intelligent. Perhaps the most disturbing moment comes when he asks the entity directly if it followed them from their old house. The ensuing series of knocks feels like a sentient confirmation, a dark admission that the change of address was entirely in vain. This interaction removes any lingering hope that the family was simply dealing with a bad house. It confirms a person-centered attachment, a phenomenon where an entity is emotionally or energetically tethered to a specific individual or group. The family is now faced with the sobering reality that they aren't just living in a haunted environment, they are carrying the haunting with them. The doors may be new and the walls freshly painted, but the guest in their kitchen is the same shadow that drove them away from their last home. They have discovered that you can leave a building, but you cannot leave behind a presence that has decided you are its anchor. So what do you think? Is there any way to break a bond that transcends physical boundaries? Or are some attachments simply permanent? I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. The next clip was captured in a home where the owner lives completely alone, but based on this footage, it looks like he might have a roommate he didn't account for. The man's son-in-law shared this video after checking the security feed from a day when the house was supposed to be entirely empty. What starts as a quiet afternoon quickly turns into a display of physical aggression that's pretty hard to debunk. Right off the bat, you hear this heavy, shuffling sound, almost like someone is dragging a piece of furniture across the floor. Then, without warning, the double closet doors slam shut with enough force to make you jump. Now, here is where it gets scientifically weird. The family points out 2 major red flags. First, those doors don't have handles on the inside, and the closet is so packed with a washer and dryer that there is physically no room for a person to be standing in there to pull them shut. But the real nope moment happens right after the slam. You can see a light flickering from the gap in the doors. According to the owner, that light hasn't worked in years and isn't even plugged into a power source anymore. We see a lot of ghost videos, but when you combine a physical slam with a dead light bulb coming back to life, you're moving out of the realm of drafty houses and into something much more intentional. It's as if the entity wanted to make sure its presence was felt, heard, and seen all at once. Is this a classic case of an entity using a dead electronic as a battery to manifest, or is the house itself just holding onto some aggressive energy? This next clip takes us to a hotel in the Lake District, where a solo traveler captured something that turned a peaceful getaway into a night of pure paranoia. While filming a TikTok in her room, she started noticing strange noises that didn't belong. If you listen closely, you can hear these distinct, disembodied whispers. One viewer even pointed out that it sounds like a voice saying she's already nervous, which, if true, is a whole new level of creepy. It wasn't just her imagination though. When she reviewed the footage, the voices were undeniably there, vibrating in the silence of her empty room.
Hello? Oh, fucking hell.
Hello? Hello?
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Once the video hit the internet, the comments section turned into an unofficial paranormal forum. Several people immediately recognized the layout and asked if she was staying at The Swan, a well-known hotel in the area. One user reported it was the most haunted night ever, and they didn't sleep a wink during their stay, while another guest confirmed they had an almost identical experience in a loft room at that same location. Feeling increasingly uneasy, she called down to reception, and they promised to send someone up to check on her. When she finally opens the door, expecting to see a staff member, she's met with a long, silent, and completely empty hallway. The sheer length of that corridor makes it almost impossible for someone to have ducked around a corner that fast. While a few skeptics in the comments suggested noisy heating pipes, the majority of viewers were just screaming for her to lock the door and stay inside. So, what do you think? Is this hotel truly holding on to spirits from the past that like to comment on their guest's state of mind? Or is it just a case of old plumbing and a hyper-aware traveler?